Hey, this is Nicole Hawken, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about feminist family theory. My partner, Sonia Tincher, helped put this PowerPoint together. First, a little bit of history. Feminism in the United States began with the Seneca Falls Convention in 1848 when women began fighting for the right to vote. This battle was not won until the ratification of the 19th Amendment in 1920. The second wave of feminism began in the 1960s. They focused on the resolution of issues such as equal pay and job training for women, reproductive choice, maternity leave, subsidized childcare, and an end to sex discrimination. Some of the branches of 1960s and 1970s feminism. First, liberal feminism challenges laws and customs that limit women's ability to achieve significant roles in society. Marxist feminism, exploitation of women in their reproductive roles and household labor. Women are second-class citizens. Radical feminism, individuals should strive for androgyny, which is a mixture of masculine and feminine traits. Families are patriarchal and should be avoided. Social feminism strove to liberate women from the combined aspects of class oppression and patriarchy, particularly as found in families. Cultural feminism focuses on bringing respect and value to traditionally feminine and undervalued traits. So, since the 60s, 70s, feminism has kind of molded into just one movement. Most feminists identify with liberal feminism, and they focus on just a few of these points. I really love this little picture here. Feminism. It's easy. You're a feminist if you believe in equality for men and women. Basic assumptions. First, women's experiences are central to our understanding of families. Second, gender is a socially constructed concept. Third, social and historical contexts are important. Fourth, there are many forms of families. 5. Emphasis is placed on social change. And 6. There is no objective, unbiased observation of humans. Some primary terms. Sex. The biological assignment as genetically defined at birth. You're either born male or female. Gender. The social meanings and behaviors ascribed to one's sex based on culture, not genetic predisposition. So boys wear blue, girls wear pink. Categorization. Process of applying labels to behaviors based on one's sex. Certain behaviors, roles, words, and symbols are male, whereas others are female. Boys are aggressive, while girls do ballet. Stratification refers to the application of value to different categories. Assigning social value to categories ranks those categories within social context. So being nice in a classroom would be viewed positively and be reinforced by teachers and other classmates. But for a woman who has never learned aggressive skills, they're really going to struggle in a Fortune 500 company where niceness isn't valued as highly as being aggressive. Privilege refers to the social status given to one with more power and value in society. Feminists must ask who has the power and who does not, so that all voices might be heard. Social deconstruction. The first step in the analysis of how views of reality are constructed by social interactions, particularly in light of how gendered meanings are developed. Social discourses brings the analysis of social deconstruction into the conversation of gender expectations and behaviors. Social discourse raises awareness of the analysis into the work of social scientists by examining the ways in which we invite people to participate in the dialogue of deconstruction. This ensures that those who do not have privilege are included in the conversation. Praxis. The step after analysis, in which beliefs and value are put into action, is praxis. For feminist family scholars, this includes advocacy for women, inclusiveness in language and behavior, and reflecting on one's own behavior with intention. So if you look to the right, you can see the little diagram here. Social deconstruction, which begins by us analyzing the values and reflecting on those. The next step is going to be the discourse, which is where we speak openly and make sure that those who are underprivileged are included in the conversation. And then last is the action. Once we identify the problems, we have a responsibility to act. Black feminism. It's important for us to recognize that gender is only one of the variables that can result in oppression. Others include race and class. It's impossible to tease out or separate the different variables that lead to oppression, so it's really important that we study how all of these different factors intersect. Critiques. Feminism has been criticized for being oppressive to men by focusing only on issues that affect women, working outside of the parameters and paradigms of the traditional scientific base of knowledge. We talked a little bit about that when we focus on assumptions. With feminism, we recognize that we can't really look at anything with complete objectivity. We just have to take into consideration our own special perspective. Another reason feminism is criticized is because of their activist position. Feminists would argue that the nature of feminism is identifying those people who are underprivileged, and we have a responsibility, once we find that problem, to act and try and improve it. Next, feminism is criticized for working against traditional nuclear families. Lastly, feminism is criticized for paying too much attention to the oppression of only one group, women, at the exclusion of other forms of oppression, such as race, ethnicity, age, disability, and religion. And that's where we talked about black feminism a little bit. It's important that we make sure that as feminists, we are including other groups. We're not focusing only on females. Here's a video I'd like to share with you guys just to help us understand privilege a little bit better. Thank you guys so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed our PowerPoint.